we want to, say, enhance our immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need visualization? Is it what we think? Is it what we visualize? Do we speak something about it?
Well, I really love visualizations. I think visualizations are very powerful, and I think, one of the forefathers of visualizations, Bernie Siegel, really has lots of case reports where he showed that when people visualize the cancer cells to be eaten up by little fish or sheep that are grazing, then actually the cancer shrinks. I had a client who had breast cancer, and she used this visualization process, and she was a very visual person, and by the time she actually had surgery, her breast cancer was 50% smaller than originally diagnosed.
Just by visualization?
Just by visualization. She is a Western physician, and she still believed that her breast cancer can also be affected by this kind of very powerful inner healer that we have. That she also realized that her emotions, her anxiety and her sadness around the relationship she was in caused her immune system to be weakened so that the breast cancer could arise.
So let's say we have anxiety about some situation we're under stress. Do we simply change our mind and our thinking about it, or what do we do? Are there physical things we can do to enhance our immune system as well?
Oh, and I think that's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. So what can I do personally to stay in a more balanced emotional place? I think one of the most effective ways is to pay attention. Paying attention to your feelings and noticing your feelings. See, a lot of people who come to me have chronic pain, fibromyalgia, or something called chronic fatigue syndrome. And the notion in Western medicine is that nobody really knows where it comes from. And these people discover that years of not paying attention to their emotions, years of not paying attention to their feelings and to their inner stress, their depression, their anxiety, caused them then to internalize these emotions and actually bring them into their body. I always compare it like the subconscious raising a red flag and saying, well, here you have to pay attention. There is something to look at. And if you're not paying attention to your emotions, maybe this pain will start actually getting your attention.
So let me ask you this. Do I create my emotions, or do they exist independently? Do they come in from outside somewhere and I simply can work with them? I mean, where do emotions originate?
See, one of the things that I notice a lot is that people create negative emotions like sadness or fear through their thoughts. They start with a little thought like, well, maybe my boss will yell at me today, or maybe I get fired, or something really out of the blue. That thought will be followed by the next thought, and this thought will be followed by the next thought. And what happens is, lo and behold, you're going to be in the pit of the emotion, maybe not even having realized how you got there. So thinking, the thoughts we have are very, very powerful, and often really the root cause of the emotion of the day.
So the emotion can be actually created by our thoughts.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Just think about when you were in love the last time. When you're in love and you're thinking about the person you're in love with, I mean, how you're creating this excitement is basically just by focusing with your thinking and your internal scope on what you desire. And that is determining your mood. And this is creating a lot of energy. I think falling in love is a great example, a counterexample to depression. Because people who feel depressed feel always that they don't have a lot of energy. People who are in love have all the energy. They don't even sleep for 48 hours and they still feel energized. See, it's not a matter of energy. It's a matter of what you do with your emotions and what emotions are present inside of you.
Say I have a negative emotion.
Uh-huh.
Anger. I'm anxious. I'm stressed. And, or there's some kind of pressure, financial pressure I'm dealing with. What happens when I focus on that energy? Does that amplify it? Or do I need to basically look at something totally different to change the dynamic of the emotion I'm in if it's not a beneficial feeling?
Yeah, to illustrate this, I brought a slide. And basically what this slide shows, so this is a person. You see the nose a little bit, this triangle. And there is an external event happening. And the person is noticing with his or her senses the events that are happening. But internally, these events will be filtered by either the emotions, by values we have, by beliefs, by the language we are using to interpret what happened outside of us, or by memories that get triggered through the event. So the same event can be completely different, filtered by the two people who experience this event. I mean, how many of us have been, watching a movie and the person next to us is crying and we are just laughing? I mean, it really depends on what kind of filters we have inside of us. What these filters are doing then is they're deleting, distorting, or generalizing the information from the outside and create this IRS, which means internal representation. So you create your reality inside of you.
Whatever the event is.
Uh-huh.
And I make up a story about it.
Exactly, that's what it is. Yeah.
I make up my story and I give it my meaning.
Right.
And then I say that's what it means.
Right.
But it's important to be able to separate out or differentiate between what actually happened and my story. Is that right?
If you see something happening that may cause you, because of your filters, sadness, automatically this inner picture will create a state of sadness. A great example is my mother. My mother is the greatest animal lover in the world. And any animal that only remotely looks like suffering is for her a heartache. I mean, I can look at a pigeon and, be compassionate, but I don't get the heartache my mother gets when she looks at the pigeon sitting on the street. So her state is a state of empathy or sadness. This again then is changing her physiology. So her blood pressure will change, her heart rate will change. And then when you go back to this picture, what happens next is that this will determine her behavior. In this case, her behavior is to buy some bird food and feed the pigeon. I mean, it's really, we are not only interpreting the reality with our filters, we are also behaving according to those filters. And all those filters are subconscious.
Wow. So really those filters, we are really, it affects our physiology.
Exactly.
It affects how we feel.
Yes.
So I mean, and this are like our heart rate and everything else. So this really is going to affect the dynamics of our physical body and therefore, our immune system and everything else that's dependent.
Right. A great example recently, I had a client who came to me who had enormous neck pain. And this neck pain caused her to, go to a neurologist and to a neurosurgeon, but also caused her to come to me and look behind the back pain and try to find out, okay, what's the emotions that may have caused this back pain? Because she was fascinated with the concept that emotions are stored in our body and are a warning signal for us to pay attention to. So she was scheduled for surgery a few weeks later because, that's what basically the X-ray and the MRI was showing, that she needs surgery. She released her emotions in 2 sessions. She could let go of this issue that was causing her the back pain, and she was completely pain-free, never needed surgery. So this shows you how powerful, once you actually work with the subconscious mind, also healing can occur. Healing is very accelerated when you work with the subconscious mind.